The Galactic Military Academy floated in the darkness of space like a steel flower. Station Helix 7 was home to 10,000 cadets from across the galaxy. They came from planets of fire and planets of ice. They came with scales, with fur, with shells made of living crystal. They came to become warriors. Park Do-yeon was not like the others. He stood at the back of the observation deck, watching the massive arena below through the transparent floor. Around him, cadets twice his size pushed for better views. A group of Gorvhen warriors laughed loudly, their gray skin thick as armor, their yellow eyes burning with confidence. They did not notice the human standing behind them. Nobody ever noticed Do-yeon. The dominance trial begins in 10 minutes, the announcement system declared in 12 languages. All registered cadets report to preparation chambers. Do-yeon did not move. He simply watched. The arena below was a circle of black sand, 200 meters wide. Energy shields shimmered around its edges like heat waves rising from hot ground. In the center stood a cage made of hard light barriers that could stop a starship. Inside the cage, something moved. The war beast. Do-yeon had read about these creatures. Everyone had? They came from Krath 9, a death world where everything evolved to kill everything else. War beasts were the winners of that endless competition. 12 feet tall when standing on their 4 legs. 6 eyes that could see in total darkness. Claws that could cut through the hull of a battleship. Armor-like skin that laughed at energy weapons. And somewhere behind those 6 eyes, an intelligence that understood exactly what it was doing when it killed. No cadet had ever defeated a war beast. The trial was simple: survive for 60 seconds. Most did not. "You're going to get yourself killed," a voice said beside him. Do-yeon turned. Yoon-suji stood there, her arms crossed. She was the only other human at the academy. Where Do-yeon was quiet and still, Suji was fire and motion. She had placed in the top 20 in every physical test. She had earned respect through blood and sweat. Do-yeon had earned nothing. "I will be fine," he said. Suji shook her head. "I watched you in combat training. You move like you are asleep?" "The Gorvhan cadets are taking bets on how many seconds you will last. The highest bet is 12. What did you bet?" She looked away. "I did not bet. I am not going to make money from watching you die." Do-yeon almost smiled, almost. "Thank you for your confidence." "This is not a joke." Sugi grabbed his arm. "You can withdraw. There is no shame in it." "Many cadets withdraw." "The weak ones withdraw," Do-yeon said. "That is what everyone will say?" The weak human ran away. Better to be weak and alive than strong and dead. Do-yeon gently removed her hand from his arm. "I will not die today. How can you know that?" He did not answer. He simply walked toward the preparation chambers, leaving Suji alone with her worry. The trials began. First came the Gorvhan. 3 of their best warriors entered the arena one by one. They were massive, powerful, and absolutely certain of their superiority. The first one lasted 41 seconds. The war beast moved faster than something that large should move. It caught the Gorvhen mid-charge and threw him into the energy shields. He did not get up. Medical drones carried him away. The second Gorvhen tried a different approach. He waited, let the beast come to him. He lasted 38 seconds. The third was the boldest. He charged straight at the creature, screaming a battle cry that shook the observation deck. He lasted 22 seconds. Next came the Morellians, tall and thin with skin like blue silk. They were telepaths. They could reach into minds and twist thoughts like wet cloth. The first one entered the arena with complete confidence. She would simply shut down the beast's brain. She touched its mind. She screamed. She fell to her knees and did not move until the medical drones came. Later, Do-yeon heard she had not spoken a single word since. Whatever she found in the beast's mind had broken something inside her. The other Morellians withdrew. The Kreth came next. They were made of living silicon, their bodies like walking statues of glass and stone, strong, nearly indestructible. The war beast shattered the first one in 9 seconds. The pieces were still twitching when the drones collected them. Species after species entered the arena. Species after species failed. The beast was not tired. It was not even breathing hard. Its 6 eyes scanned the observation deck, looking for the next victim. Cadet Park Do-Yun, human, report to the arena. Silence fell over the deck. Then laughter. The Gorvhan cadets howled with amusement. A Kreth made a sound like grinding rocks, their version of mockery. Even some of the instructors looked away, embarrassed for the human who was about to die. Do-Yun walked to the arena entrance. Suji pushed through the crowd to the front of the observation area. Her hands pressed against the transparent floor. "Come on," she whispered. "Please." The arena doors opened. Do-Yun stepped onto the black sand. It was warm under his boots. The air smelled like copper and something else, something wild and old and dangerous. The cage of light disappeared. The war beast was free. It turned to face him. 12 feet of death and hunger and ancient violence. Its 6 eyes locked onto the small human standing alone on the sand. But it did not charge. The beast tilted its massive head. Its nostrils flared. Something passed behind those 6 eyes, not rage, not hunger, but something else. Something like a question. On the observation deck, Instructor Vrel leaned forward. His insectoid face showed no emotion, but his antennae were trembling. In 200 years of conducting these trials, he had never seen a war beast hesitate. Do-Yun stood perfectly still. He did not raise his fists. He did not take a fighting stance. He simply breathed, slow and steady, and met the beast's gaze with his own. The timer began counting. 60 seconds. The war beast circled him slowly. Do-Yun stood in the center of the arena and did not move. He could feel his heart beating in his chest, not fast, not slow, just steady. The beast's footsteps made the sand tremble. Each of its 4 legs was thick as a tree trunk. Each of its claws was longer than Do-Yun's forearm. 10 seconds passed. On the observation deck, nobody was laughing anymore. The Gorvhan cadets had stopped their jokes. The Kreth had stopped their grinding sounds. Everyone was watching. Everyone was waiting for the human to run, to scream, to die like all the others. But Do-Yun did not run. He did not scream. He just stood there breathing. The beast completed its first circle. Its 6 eyes never left the human. There was something different about this prey. It did not smell like fear. The others had all smelled like fear, sharp and sour and delicious. This one smelled like ... nothing, just calm. Just stillness. The beast did not understand. 20 seconds. Instructor Vrel's mandibles clicked together rapidly. This was wrong. This was completely wrong. War beasts were killing machines. They did not circle. They did not hesitate. They attacked, they destroyed, they moved to the next target. That was their nature. That was what made them perfect weapons. So why was this one waiting? What is he doing? Someone whispered on the observation deck. Suji pressed closer to the transparent floor. Her breath was fogging the surface. She could see Do-Yun's face clearly, calm, focused, watching the beast with the same attention the beast was giving him. It was like watching 2 old soldiers recognize each other across a battlefield. 30 seconds. The beast charged. It happened without warning. One moment the creature was circling, the next it was flying toward Do-Yun like a missile made of muscle and claws. The ground shook. The air screamed. Death came at 20 meters per second. Do-Yun stepped to the left. Not jumped, not dove, not rolled. Just stepped like a man avoiding a puddle on a rainy day. The beast shot past him, its claws cutting the air where he had been standing. It crashed into the energy shields, bounced back, and turned with terrible speed. It charged again. Do-Yun stepped to the right. Again the beast missed. Again it turned. Again it charged. And again Do-Yun was simply not there when the claws arrived. He was not fast. Everyone could see that. He was not athletic. He did not have the reflexes of the Morellians or the strength of the Gorvhan. He was just a baseline human, soft and slow and breakable. But he was never where the beast expected him to be. 40 seconds. He is reading it, Suji whispered. Her eyes were wide. He is actually reading it. She understood now. She had watched Do-yun in training, wondered why he always stood at the back, always watched instead of participated. She had thought he was afraid. She had thought he was lazy. She had been wrong. He had been learning. The war beast's attacks were not random. They followed patterns: muscle tension before a leap, weight shift before a turn, eye movement before a direction change. Patterns that happened in fractions of a second. Patterns that no one should be able to see. But Do-yun saw them. He had spent his whole life seeing them. 45 seconds. The beast stopped charging. It stood in the center of the arena, its massive chest heaving. Not from exhaustion. War beasts did not get exhausted. From something else. From confusion. From frustration. From the first real challenge it had faced in years. It looked at the human standing 10 meters away. This small, soft creature that would not run. That would not fight. That would not fear. What are you? The beast's eyes seemed to ask. Do-yun met its gaze. He did not blink. He did not look away. In his mind he heard his grandfather's voice, old and rough like stones grinding together. Fear is a conversation, boy. Most creatures only know one word, run. But some creatures, the oldest ones, the smartest ones, they know other words too. They know respect. They know recognition. Show them you know those words and the conversation changes. 50 seconds. The beast took a step forward. Then another. Slowly now. Not charging. Not hunting, just ... approaching. Do-yun did not move. On the observation deck, Instructor Vrel stood up from his seat. His antennae were vibrating so fast they were almost invisible. This is not possible, he said. This is not possible. The beast was now 3 meters away. 2 meters. 1 meter. Close enough that Do-yun could smell its breath, hot and wet and ancient, like a wind blowing from the beginning of time. Close enough that one swipe of its claws would cut him in half. 55 seconds. The beast lowered its head until its 6 eyes were level with Do-yun's too. They stared at each other. Human and monster. Prey and predator. 2 creatures from opposite ends of the galaxy meeting in a moment that would change everything. Do-yun did not look away. 60 seconds? The timer buzzed. The trial was over. Do-yun had survived. But nobody moved to open the arena doors. Nobody spoke. Nobody even breathed. Because the war beast was still standing there, its massive head inches from the human's face. And then it did something that made 10,000 cadets gasp as one. It lowered its head to the ground. Its armored chin touched the black sand. Its 6 eyes closed. Its body relaxed into a position that every xenobiologist in the galaxy would recognize. A position that war beasts had never, not once in recorded history, shown. To any other creature, submission, the war beast was bowing to Park Do-yun. Suji's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the observation deck, her hands shaking, her mind trying to understand what her eyes had just seen. Instructor Vrel spoke into his communicator, his voice barely steady. Get me the High Council. Get me everyone. Something has happened here. Something that changes everything. In the arena, Do-yun slowly reached out and placed his hand on the beast's armored head. It was warm. It was alive. And somewhere deep inside it, he could feel something that might have been gratitude. I see you, he said quietly. I see you too. The Academy had never seen anything like this. Within hours, the video of Do-yun's trial had spread to every corner of Station Helix 7, within days. It had reached the homeworlds of 100 species. A baseline human with no modifications, no enhancements, no special abilities had made a war beast bow. The galaxy did not know what to do with this information. Do-yun sat in a small white room while doctors and scientists poked and prodded him. They took his blood. They scanned his brain. They measured every part of his body and compared it to every database they had. They found nothing unusual. He was exactly what he appeared to be, an ordinary human. This makes no sense, one of the scientists muttered. There must be something. Some mutation? Some hidden ability? There is nothing, Do-yun said. I am just a man. Men do not make war beasts bow. Do-yun shrugged. He had stopped trying to explain hours ago. Instructor Vrel entered the room, his insectoid body clicking as he moved. The scientist stepped back immediately. Everyone knew better than to get in an instructor's way. Leave us, Vrel said. The scientist left. The door closed. Vrel stood over Do-yun, his compound eyes reflecting the human's face 1,000 times. Explain. I already explained to the others. You told them you were not afraid. That is not an explanation. Every creature feels fear. It is survival. It is instinct. War beasts are designed to trigger fear in every prey species in the galaxy. Their appearance, their smell, their very presence activates the deepest parts of the brain. You cannot simply choose not to fear them. Do-yun was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I grew up on Frontier 7. Vrel's antennae twitched. The colony world. The one with the megafauna? Yes, my family were farmers. But the land we worked was also home to creatures almost as dangerous as war beasts. Giant predators. Venomous swarms. Things that could kill a man before he even knew they were there. Do-yun looked at his hands. My grandfather taught me about them. He said that fear was useful, but only if you controlled it. If fear controlled you, you were already dead. And how did he teach you to control it? Practice. Do-yun met Vrel's 1,000-fold gaze. Every day, from the time I was 5 years old, my grandfather would take me out to watch the predators. We would sit perfectly still, sometimes for hours, while they hunted around us. He taught me to breathe, to stay calm, to watch without reacting. By the time I was 10, I could stand in the middle of a feeding ground without my heart rate changing. Vrel was silent for a long moment. That is unusual training for a child. It was necessary. On Frontier 7, panic means death. The creatures there can smell fear. They hunt it. So we learned not to give them anything to hunt. And the war beast? It was looking for fear. That is what it knows. That is how it understands the world. When it did not find fear in me, it did not know what to do. So it did what predators do when they meet something they do not understand. It watched. It waited. And when it realized I was not prey, it recognized me as something else. As what? Do-yun shook his head. I do not know. An equal, maybe? Or something it had been looking for without knowing it. The door opened again. A group of officers entered the High Council of the Academy. The most powerful beings on Station Helix 7, they wore uniforms covered in medals. They looked at Do-yun like he was a puzzle they could not solve. We have a problem, the lead counselor said. She was a Morellian, tall and thin, her blue skin shimmering under the lights. The war beast refuses to cooperate with its handlers. It killed one of them this morning, another counselor added. Tore his arm off when he tried to feed it. But that is not the strange part, the Morellian continued. The strange part is what happens when we show it images of you, Cadet Park, holographic recordings from the trial. When it sees your face, it becomes calm, almost gentle. She leaned forward. We have never seen behavior like this. War beasts do not bond. They do not attach. They are weapons, nothing more. So what do you want from me? Do-yun asked. The counselors looked at each other. Finally, the Morellian spoke. 300 years ago, there was a program. An attempt to bond war beasts with handlers, to create perfect soldier-weapon pairs. It failed. Every handler died. The program was cancelled, the record sealed. She paused. We are reopening the program. For you? Do-yun felt something shift in his chest. You want me to bond with the beast? We want you to try. The beast has chosen you, whether we understand it or not. If you can form a true bond, you will become the most valuable soldier in the galaxy. If you fail, she did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. And if I refuse? Then we will destroy the beast. It is too dangerous to keep if it cannot be controlled. And you will spend the rest of your time at this academy knowing that an animal died because you were afraid to try. Do-yeon thought about his grandfather, about the old man's hands, scarred from a lifetime of living alongside monsters, about the lessons taught in silence and patience, about what it meant to face something dangerous, not with weapons, but with understanding. "When do I start?" he asked. The Morellian smiled. It was not a warm smile. Now, that night, Sugi found him in the observation room above the beast's holding cell. The creature was pacing below, its massive body moving with restless energy. When it saw Do-yeon's face through the glass, it stopped. It looked up at him with its 6 eyes, and for just a moment its body relaxed. "You are really going to do this," Sugi said. "Yes, it could kill you. Many things could kill me. This, at least, might be worth dying for." Sugi stood beside him, watching the beast watching them. "What did you see in the arena? When it bowed to you? What did you see in its eyes?" Do-yeon was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was soft. "Loneliness," he said. "I saw loneliness." Below them, the war beast lay down on the floor of its cell and closed its 6 eyes. For the first time since its capture, it slept peacefully. Do-yeon entered the beast's cell alone. The security officers had argued against it. The scientists had begged him to wait. Even Instructor Vrel had suggested starting with a barrier between them. But Do-yeon knew that barriers meant distrust, and distrust meant failure. The cell was large, 50 meters across, with walls of reinforced metal and floors covered in something soft like moss. The lighting was dim, the way the beast preferred it. The air smelled like rain and earth and something wild. The beast stood in the far corner, watching him with all 6 eyes. Do-yeon walked to the center of the cell. He did not speak. He did not reach out. He simply sat down on the soft floor, crossed his legs, and closed his eyes. In the observation room above, Sugi pressed her hands against the glass. "What is he doing?" "Waiting," said one of the scientists. "He's just waiting." 1 hour passed. The beast did not move. Do-yeon did not move. 2 hours. The beast took a single step forward, then stopped. 3 hours. Another step. Then another. 4 hours. The beast was now 10 meters away. Its breathing had slowed. Its body was less tense. 5 hours. 5 meters away. Sugi could see its eyes more clearly now, not just 6 dots of light, but actual eyes with depth and color and something that looked almost like curiosity. 6 hours. The beast lay down beside Do-yeon, not touching him. Just lying there, its massive head resting on its front legs, its 6 eyes half closed. Do-yeon opened his eyes. For a long moment, he and the beast simply looked at each other. Then Do-yeon slowly raised his hand and held it out, palm up, fingers relaxed. An offering. An invitation. The beast lifted its head. Its nostrils flared, taking in Do-yeon's scent. Then, with a gentleness that seemed impossible for something so large and deadly, it pressed its armored forehead against Do-yeon's palm. Sugi felt tears on her cheeks. She did not know why. "I am going to call you Jiamul," Do-yeon said quietly. "It means giant in my grandfather's language. Is that okay with you?" The beast Jiamul made a sound low in its chest. Not a growl. Something softer. Something like agreement. Over the following weeks, the bond grew stronger. Do-yeon spent every day with Jiamul. He slept in the cell. He ate his meals there. He talked to the beast constantly about his childhood, about his grandfather, about the stars and the planets and the strange journey that had brought him here. Jiamul could not answer in words, but it answered in other ways. A tilt of the head, a rumble in the chest, a gentle press of its body against Do-yeon's when he seemed sad. The scientists were amazed. They had never seen a war beast show affection. They had believed it was impossible. But here was proof, walking through the academy halls, a human and a monster, side by side, moving like they had known each other for years. Training began. Do-yun had never been a great fighter. He was too slow, too weak, too soft compared to the other species. But with Jiamil beside him, none of that mattered. The beast responded to his voice, his gestures, even his thoughts. When Do-yun said move, Jiamil moved. When Do-yun said stop, Jiamil stopped. When Do-yun said protect, Jiamil became a wall of armor and claws that nothing could pass. They trained together every day. Combat drills, defense exercises, tactical simulations. In every test, they were devastating. The same cadets who had laughed at Do-yun now refused to enter the same training arena as him and Jiamil. "You have become famous," Suji said one evening. They were sitting in the observation deck, watching the stars drift past the station windows. "Everyone knows your name now. I did not ask for fame." "No, but you have it anyway." She looked at him. "The Gorvhen are angry. They used to be the best warriors at the academy. Now everyone talks about the human with the war beast." Do-yun nodded slowly. He had noticed the looks, the whispers, the way certain cadets went quiet when he walked by. "Commander Throck. Yes, he has been telling everyone that you cheated somehow. That no human could really bond with a war beast, that there must be some trick. There is no trick." "I know, but he does not believe that. And he has friends. Powerful friends." Suji touched his arm. "Be careful, Do-yun. The Gorvhen do not like losing. They especially do not like losing to humans." Do-yun thought about her warning. But what could he do? He could not stop being who he was. He could not send Jiamil away. And he would not hide. The attack came 3 days later. It was supposed to be a routine training exercise, a live-fire drill in one of the smaller arenas. Do-yun arrived at the scheduled time, only to find that Jiamil had been locked in a separate holding area. "Technical problems," the duty officer said. "The beast will join you shortly." Do-yun entered the arena alone. The doors sealed behind him. And then 3 Gorvhen cadets stepped out of the shadows. They were huge even by Gorvhen standards. Their gray skin was covered in ritual scars. Their yellow eyes burned with hatred. Each one carried a shock-lance military-grade weapons that could kill a human with a single touch. "Hello, little human," the largest one said. His name was Gorn, and he was Commander Throke's nephew. "We have been wanting to talk to you." Do-yun looked at the sealed doors. He looked at the 3 weapons pointed at him. He understood exactly what was happening. "This is murder," he said. "No," Gorn smiled. "This is a training accident. Happens all the time." "Very sad," he raised his shock lance. "Now let us see how brave you are without your pet." In the holding area, Jiamil began to scream. It was not a sound that should have been possible, a roar mixed with a howl mixed with something almost like words. The beast threw itself against the reinforced doors, again, again, again. Each impact shook the walls. Each impact bent the metal a little more. Suji heard the sound from across the station. She started running. In the arena, the 3 Gorvhen attacked. Do-yun was alone. He was unarmed. He was facing 3 warriors 3 times his size with weapons that could kill him instantly. He did not run. He raised his fists and waited. The first Gorvhen swung his shock lance. Do-yun ducked under it. The second stabbed forward. Do-yun stepped to the side. The third aimed for his head. Do-yun dropped to his knees, letting the weapon pass over him. He was not fast enough. He knew that. But he knew something else too. The Gorvhen were angry. And angry fighters made mistakes. Gorn made the first mistake. He overextended on a thrust, leaving his arm exposed. Do-yun grabbed it and twisted with all his weight. The shock lance fell from Gorn's fingers. Do-yun caught it before it hit the ground. Now he had a weapon. The other 2 Gorvhen hesitated. Just for a second. Just long enough. Outside the arena, Jiamil hit the doors one more time. The metal finally gave way. The beast exploded through the gap like a living missile, heading straight for the arena. Suji was right behind it, her hand on the emergency override panel. The arena doors opened. Jiamil burst through and stopped. Do-yun stood in the center of the arena. One Gorvhan was unconscious at his feet. Another was crawling toward the exit, his arm bent at a wrong angle. The third Gorn was on his knees with Do-yun's stolen shock lance pressed against his throat. Do-yun was bleeding. His arm hung at his side, broken in at least 2 places. His face was bruised and swollen, but he was alive. And he was standing. Jiamil walked slowly to Do-yun's side. It did not attack the fallen Gorvhen. It did not roar or threaten. It simply stood there, its massive body beside the small human who had fought alone and won. "Get up," Do-yun said to Gorn. His voice was steady despite the pain. "Go back to your commander. Tell him what happened here. Tell him that the human did not need his pet to beat you. Tell him that if he tries this again, I will not be so gentle." Gorn scrambled to his feet and ran. Suji reached them a moment later. She looked at the destruction, at Do-yun's injuries, at the calm expression on his face. "How?" she asked. "How did you do that?" Do-yun leaned against Jiamil's side, letting the beast take his weight. "Humans do not give up," he said. "It is the only thing we have ever been good at." Then he closed his eyes and let Suji call the medical team. Omunda Thrak was arrested the next morning. The evidence was clear. Security recordings showed him ordering the holding area lockdown. Communication logs proved he had arranged for his nephew and the other Gorvhan to be in that arena at that time. The assassination attempt had been planned for weeks. Do-yun watched from his hospital bed as the news spread across the station. The Gorvhan delegation protested. They claimed Thrak was being framed. They demanded his release. But the High Council had seen the evidence and their decision was final. "He will be sent back to the Gorvhan homeworld for trial," Suji told Do-yun. "Though I doubt he will face much punishment there. His family is too powerful." "It does not matter," Do-yun said. His arm was in a regeneration sleeve, the broken bones slowly knitting back together. "He knows what happened. His people know what happened. That is enough, is it? He tried to kill you." Do-yun looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, beyond the darkness, was Earth, the small blue planet that had created his species. The world that had taught humans to fight against impossible odds, again and again, until fighting became part of their blood. "My grandfather used to tell me stories," he said, "about the old days on Earth before we reached the stars. Humans were not the strongest animals. We were not the fastest. We did not have claws or fangs or armor. But we survived. We survived ice ages and plagues and predators that should have wiped us out. Do you know why?" Suji shook her head. "Because we did not know when to quit? Every other species on our planet had limits. When things got too hard, they gave up, moved on, accepted their fate. But humans, we just kept going. We failed and failed and failed, and then we got up and tried again. It is our one true gift. The galaxy has many words for it: stubbornness, persistence, determination. We have a simpler word. What?" Do-yun smiled. It was the first real smile Suji had ever seen from him. Heart. The graduation ceremony was held 3 weeks later. 10,000 cadets gathered in the Grand Assembly Hall of Station Helix 7. They stood in perfect rows, organized by species and rank. The Gorvhan in their section, the Morellians in theirs, the Kreth, the insectoids, the silicon-based and the carbon-based, the telepaths and the warriors and the engineers. Every intelligent species in the galaxy represented in one room. At the front, on a raised platform, stood Instructor Vrel and the High Council. Behind them, filling an entire section of the hall by himself, stood Jiamil. The war beast was calm, its 6 eyes scanning the crowd without aggression. Occasionally, its gaze would settle on a particular cadet, and that cadet would suddenly find somewhere else to look. "We have gathered today to honor this year's graduates," Instructor Vrel announced. His voice carried through the hall, translated simultaneously into 100 languages. "But before we begin the ceremony, I must speak of something else. Something that happened here, something that changed how I understand the galaxy. He paused. The hall was silent. For 200 years, I have conducted the dominance trial. I have watched warriors from every species face the war beast. I have seen courage and cowardice, strength and weakness, victory and defeat. I believed I understood what made a soldier great. I believed it was power, speed, the ability to destroy your enemies before they destroyed you. Vrel turned to look at the human standing alone at the edge of the platform. Doyan's arm was still in its regeneration sleeve. His face still showed faint bruises, but he stood straight, his eyes clear, his breathing steady. I was wrong. A murmur passed through the crowd. The war beast did not bow to Cadet Park because he was the strongest. It did not bow because he was the fastest or the most deadly. It bowed because, in all its centuries of existence, it had never encountered a creature that faced death with such perfect stillness. The humans have a quality that the rest of us lack. It is not physical. It is not measurable. But it is real. Vrel walked to where Doyan stood. The insectoid instructor towered over the human, his compound eyes reflecting the light of 1,000 stars. 3 Gorvhen warriors attacked this man when he was alone and unarmed. He had every reason to surrender, every reason to beg for mercy. Instead, he fought. He was broken and bleeding, and still he fought. And when we asked him how, do you know what he said? The hall waited. He said, "Humans do not give up. It is the only thing we have ever been good at." Vrel turned back to face the assembled cadets. I have studied humans since that day. Their history, their biology, their culture. And I have learned something that I believe every species in this room needs to hear. He spread his upper limbs wide, a gesture that meant emphasis in his culture. Humans should not exist. Their homeworld was a death trap. Their bodies are fragile and slow. They have no natural weapons, no armor, no special abilities. By every measure, they should have been extinct millions of years ago. He let the silence stretch. But they are not extinct. They are here, among us, reaching for the same stars that we reach for. And now I understand why. It is not because they are strong. It is because they refuse to be weak. When they fall, they rise. When they fail, they try again. When the universe tells them they cannot survive, they answer, "Watch us." Instructor Vrel turned to Doyan one final time. In my language, there is no word for what you showed us. But the humans have one. They call it heart. He bowed his head, a gesture of respect that an instructor had never shown a cadet in the history of the academy. Thank you, Cadet Park, for teaching an old soldier that there is more than one kind of strength. Doyan bowed back. Then he walked to where Jiamil stood and placed his hand on the beast's armored head. The creature made that sound again, low and soft and warm, the sound that meant happiness, the sound that meant home. Suji watched from the crowd, tears running down her face. She did not try to hide them. Later, after the ceremony, she found Doyan in the observation deck. He was alone with Jiamil, looking out at the stars. She stood beside him in silence for a long moment. "What happens now?" she finally asked. "I do not know. There are reports coming in from Krath-9, the war beast homeworld. They say the creatures there have started acting strangely, sending signals into space." "Signals?" Doyan nodded. "Coordinates, pointing to Earth." Suji's eyes widened. "They are looking for more humans? Maybe they are looking for more of whatever it is that Jiamil found in me." He looked at her. The galaxy thought war beasts were monsters, weapons, things to be used and feared. But I think they were just waiting. Waiting for what? Doyan smiled and scratched Jiamil behind the ear. The beast made a sound that was almost like a purr for someone who would not run away. Outside the station, the stars turned slowly in the endless dark. Somewhere among them was Earth, the small blue world that had taught its children to never give up. And somewhere among them was Krath-9, where creatures older than human history were sending messages into the void, searching for the quality they had sensed in one young man on a distant station. They were searching for heart, and they would find it. Because that was the one thing humans would never stop giving.